What if events went differently? What if Alien vs. Predator Requiem took place in GTA San Andreas? Welcome back. My name is Max Charlevoix, aka Missed the Part, and welcome back, my fellow watchers of the multiverse. We're diving into Gaming Week, and one of the first stories of the week is what if GTA San Andreas and Alien vs. Predator Requiem had crossed over in one big storyline. This is going to be a very, very interesting storyline, and I can't wait to dive into this video. But before we do, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, I would love to give a massive community shout out to Mad Prime Productions for requesting this what if in the live streams. So again, if you guys haven't already checked out the live streams, we do have tons of them, and we do them every Monday and Friday, and some of them we end up giving you a chance to actually request some of your ideas, and this idea ended up making it into the list. And again, it's gonna be absolutely crazy with more and more as we go along. But anyways, massive shout out to Mad Prime Productions. And I also want to give a massive shout out to the merch store. So we have a brand new piece of merch that is actually based on this AVP Grove Street Edition Miss the Part Gaming Week. Aliens, Predators, CJ, there's only one Grove Street. Get the merch now. It's only available for 1 week only, and it's exclusive to the Miss the Part store on the fourth wall page. And if you use promo code WHATIF, you can get 10% off the latest merch order. And again, all of the proceeds go back into the channel, and it goes towards making even more what if videos. But that being said, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, let's dive into Gaming Week. A dark streak tore through it, invisible to most. The stars blinked, and then something massive groaned from the heavens. High over Mount Chiliad, a Predator scout ship spiraled like a wounded bird, trailing flames across the sky. Inside, lights flashed in erratic pulses. Alarms howled in an alien tongue, and containment doors buckled under screeching claws. The Predalien, an abomination born of ritual gone wrong, slammed itself against a bulkhead. In a burst of molten fluid and broken steel, it vanished into the escape shaft just before the ship plunged into the forest. When the ship hit ground, it didn't explode. It sank. Trees folded inward, swallowed whole. Animals scattered. Silence returned. A moment later, something long and sleek slithered into the night. Unseen among the ferns and fog, Carl Johnson stepped off the Greyhound bus like he'd never left. A duffel bag in one hand, his eyes scanned the corner of the terminal where no one had come to meet him. Los Santos hadn't changed. It still smelled like piss, motor oil, and cooked pork belly. He lit a cigarette and took a drag, watching a lowrider glide past on hydraulics like nothing had ever happened. The war with the ballast, the crash unit, all that Liberty City noise, it felt far away now. Still, Grove Street whispered from every corner. CJ walked the cracked sidewalk past graffiti that had long since faded. When he turned onto Grove Street proper, Sweet stood in the yard, with his arms crossed, chin up, like a sentry. The two men locked eyes for a long second, then embraced the way brothers do. Briefly, painfully. "You picked a hell of a time to come home," Sweet said. "Was it ever not a hell of a time?" By day 2, something already felt off. Ballas had gone quiet. Not scared, just gone. Vagos too. Whole corners were empty. CJ and Ryder rolled through East Los Santos in a green Sabre, expecting a drive-by opportunity. What they found was silence and yellow tape. A city sanitation crew, not cops, was hosing blood off a brick wall behind a tattoo parlor. No bodies, no press. Just a pile of shell casings and a drained pit bull. This turf war's got a body count, Ryder muttered. But ain't nobody claiming the kills. CJ glanced up at the rooftops. Something moved, fast, too fast. That night, the first scream came from Ganton. CJ sat in his room, cleaning his pistol, when it rang out, raw, wet, unending. He hit the porch in seconds, saw Sweet already standing in the street. Down the block, under the streetlight, something hung. It was Bala, barely. The skin had been flayed off like a butchered animal, limbs strung up with steel wire, his face locked in a rictus of terror. No gunshots, no knife wounds, just burns and something else, like acid had carved symbols into his chest. CJ stepped closer, scanning the rooftops. "Respect didn't kill him," he said. Sweet exhaled through his nose. "This ain't gang business." Over the next 2 days, the city began to shift. Police blockades sealed off the dam. Radio chatter buzzed about a chemical spill near Las Brujas. Military transports moved at night. CJ heard whispers from Woozy's crew. Triads pulling back from Red County. Something about disappearances in the hills. Bodies with holes in their chests. Locals claimed it was chupacabras. Woozy called CJ directly. "I think you're sitting on something bigger than a war, my friend. Meet me." CJ drove north in the dark, far past the signs of civilization. When he reached the edge of the forest near Bacca Beyond, he killed the engine. The air smelled metallic. Not just blood. Something wrong. He moved on foot, stepping around animal carcasses torn in half. That's when he saw it. The ship. Mostly buried, scorched black and humming, low, a sound that vibrated in his jaw. He stepped closer. That's when the trees moved, not wind, movement. Something huge, cloaked, and watching. CJ raised his pistol but saw nothing. Then a blur. 3 red dots. A triangular aim locked on his chest. He froze, but it didn't fire. The shape vanished again into the forest, faster than thought. CJ made it back to the car and drove straight to Woozy's. He paced the garage while Woozy studied distorted thermal camera footage pulled from a Triad drone near the forest line. "You see that?" Woozy pointed. "Right there. On screen, a shimmer in the trees. Then a shape. Tall, armored, humanoid but not. The frame skipped, and in the next second, the drone feed cut to black. We got a contact, not human, not military." CJ stared at the screen. "What the hell is this?" "Something hunting," Woozy said. "Something not from here." Later that night, CJ followed rumors of bodies appearing in the storm drain tunnels beneath Idlewood. He climbed down with a flashlight and his pistol, walking knee-deep in black water. The air was thick, rotten. Something skittered behind him. He turned fast, and it dropped. The Xenomorph, all claws, teeth, and a shriek that shattered the tunnel walls. CJ fired, missed, fired again. It clipped his shoulder. Blood sprayed. He hit the ladder, climbing one-handed, yelling, heart pounding. The thing slammed to the wall behind him, tail lashing up. He rolled out of the grate, bleeding, gasping. He didn't stop running. When he got back to Grove Street, Sweet looked at the wound. "What did that?" CJ shook his head. "Ain't no dog. Ain't no cop. Ain't no Bala." He looked at the sky, which was now glowing faintly orange. "Something's down here, man, and it's not alone." 2 days passed, and the city felt like it was holding its breath. Bala stopped patrolling. The cops started skipping entire zones, and Grove Street began boarding windows. It wasn't turf war behavior, it was survival. People were going missing without a sound. No gunfire, no witnesses. Just torn fences and blood trails leading into alley drains. CJ loaded up with a Spaz 12 and 3 pistols and walked into the heart of East Los Santos. He didn't say a word to Sweet. He wasn't looking for a war. He was looking for it. The convenience store was empty except for the humming of the broken fridge and a trail of black fluid on the tile. CJ stepped quietly. He wasn't alone. On the back wall, a shape stirred. A xenomorph emerged from the shadow like it was grown there, tall, slick, silent. CJ fired first. Shells tore at its body, but the acid sprayed wide. One drop hit a neon beer sign and it fizzed into smoke. CJ dove behind the counter, but the creature was on him. Claws scraped the floor as it lunged. Then came the sound. A blue flash. The air screamed. The Xenos had detonated, its crown bursting like glass. It hit the floor twitching. Standing in the shattered window was the Predator, plasma caster cooling, still cloaked except for one shimmering shoulder. It stepped inside. CJ raised his weapon, but the Predator didn't fire. It looked at him, paused, then turned and vanished. Back at Woozy's safe house, CJ poured whiskey onto his burned arm and hissed. Woozy watched the footage back in silence. "You should be dead," he said. "I would be. That thing saved me." "Saved you or let you live?" CJ didn't answer. Enter Lex Woods. She arrived in a beat-up Jeep wearing aviator glasses, a tactical vest, and eyes that didn't blink. "I tracked the signal here. You've got a Predator on your turf," she said, tossing a metal spike onto the table. It pulsed with alien symbols. CJ raised an eyebrow. "Who the hell are you?" "I've seen them up close. I'm the reason one of them still breathes." Woozy leaned forward. "You're saying you know these things?" "I survived their pyramid. I buried their queen. And I've been running from the company ever since." CJ smirked bitterly. "You're just full of good news." Lex led them to an underground compound in the desert, a lab buried beneath Area 69. The keypad was fried, the cameras were dead, and the smell of death was thick. Inside were shattered specimen tanks, broken cages, security logs looping static. CJ scanned the walls, marked with Weyland-Yutani insignias. Lex moved ahead, flashlight cutting through the dark. "They brought the eggs here. One of the queen's spawns. Thought they could clone it, breed it, control it." "Let me guess," CJ muttered. "It didn't work out. In the far chamber, they found a survivor. Ramirez. Former Black Ops, bleeding from the gut, breathing shallow, dog tags hanging from his boot. They've been using the gangs," he coughed, "feeding them to the Hive, Ballas, Vagos, even your own boys. The lab's deep under the city now. They moved the queen underground, downtown." CJ knelt beside him. "Why?" "Because they want to contain it where nobody will care if the bodies pile up." Lex closed his eyes. "Weyland-Yutani never buries mistakes. They build around them." That night, CJ returned to Grove Street and confronted Big Smoke. They sat alone in Smoke's garage. A wall of monitors buzzed behind him. "I know you've been dealing," CJ said, pistol on the table. Smoke took a long drag from his cigar. "You think I wanted this? I saw which way the wind was blowing. Government wants monsters? Fine. Let me give him someone else's hood to feed on. I'm selling options, CJ. You think the army's coming to save us? Nah, homie. They're gonna torch the block and call it containment. I'm just staying one step ahead." CJ didn't shoot him. Not yet. But the look in his eyes said everything. The Hive spread faster than anyone expected. Xenomorphs tunneled through subway routes, sewer lines under freeways. A week ago, Los Santos had turf wars. Now it had kill zones. CJ's crew took refuge in a triad stronghold near the docks. Lex ran recon. Ramirez stocked weapons. Even Woozy took up arms. CJ started to notice patterns. The Xenos avoided certain rooftops, certain heat sources, certain sounds, and always, when they got too bold. He showed up, the Predator. One night, CJ went rooftop to rooftop tracking bodies. Found a nest near Vinewood. Xenocarcasses sliced open. Marks burned into their chests. Then, there. The Predator stood over a dead drone, retracting its blade. CJ raised his rifle. The Predator turned. No weapons drawn. CJ hesitated. You gonna finish the job or what? The Predator extended a wrist gauntlet and tapped a symbol. A holographic map blinked to life. Los Santos lit with hive tunnels beneath every major block. Then it pointed toward Vinewood and vanished. CJ stood in the silence, eyes wide. Guess we're going underground. The city was burning from the bottom up. You could smell it in the sewer grates, acrid, wet, and wrong. Ganton was empty. Idlewood was a ghost town. Military convoys barricaded freeways, but CJ knew it was too late. The Queen had hatched, and her hive had taken root beneath Los Santos like a living infection. CJ stood over a table in Woozy's safe house. Lex laid out blueprints of the underground subway system, overlapping it with the holographic hive map the Predator had shared. This is where the egg chamber is, she said, pointing to a nexus under Vinewood. That's where the Queen is. Then we end it there, CJ said, loading a drum mag into his rifle. Woozy handed him a combat vest lined with Predator tech. Scarred plates, a wrist spike, and a cloaking emitter modified by Lex. Don't die down there, he said. I've got money on you making it out. CJ smirked. Then go double it. The crew was small. CJ, Lex, Ramirez, and the Predator, Scar. 4 warriors walking into the dark. They moved through the subway tunnels past lines of bloodied walls and half-dissolved corpses. Faint hissing echoed from every angle. CJ led with flashlight beams cutting wide arcs. The Predator stalked ahead in silence, cloak shimmering. Ramirez wheezed, sweat soaking through his vest. You okay? CJ asked. I'm dying either way, Ramirez muttered. Might as well go loud. They reached the outer edge of the hive, a living tunnel. Walls pulsing, webs of sinew, eggs packed shoulder to shoulder, breathing in the dark. One cracked open. Lex whispered, "Don't make a sound." Too late. Something moved above. A xenomorph dropped down, impaled Ramirez through the chest, and pulled him into the dark before anyone could scream. CJ raised his gun, fired once, twice. Screeches exploded from all around them. "Run!" Lex shouted. They sprinted through the egg maze, dodging tail lashes and spit. The Predator carved a path ahead with his wrist blades, slicing through 2 drones in a blur of motion. Acid sprayed across his armor. He barely flinched. They reached the Queen's chamber and stopped. It was massive. A throne of bone and sinew. At its center, the Queen bloated and chained by her own grotesque bulk. Her head lifted slowly. She screamed and the whole hive shook. CJ raised his gun. Then came the voice. "Hold your fire." Big Smoke stepped out from behind a pillar, alive, barely. His face was sweaty, pale. He carried no gun. "You ain't gotta do this, CJ." CJ stared him down, expression flat. "You're working with this." "I'm working for a future," Smoke snapped. "We can control it. The Queen listens to patterns, pheromones, tech. I got her obeying Wayland command bursts. We can take this city, CJ. Ain't no feds, no pigs, no ballast gonna stop us now. You sold us out for monsters. They're just the next level, homie. You think Grove Street's gonna last forever?" CJ stepped forward. Smoke held up a trigger. "One step closer, I drop this, and the Queen goes feral." Behind them, the Predator raised his wrist blade. Lex reached for her pistol. Smoke saw it. "You too," he said to her. "You don't get it either." Lex looked him dead in the eye. "No, but I survived the last Queen, and I'm not letting this one live." She dove. Gunshot. Smoke fired first. Lex staggered. CJ didn't think. He tackled Smoke to the ground and jammed his knife through his neck. Blood gurgled. Smoke grinned as he choked. "You too late." The Queen shrieked. Eggs hatched. Everything went to hell. The Predator ran toward the Queen, plasma cannon recharging. Drones swarmed. CJ fired until his gun clicked empty. Lex, bleeding, staggering, grabbed CJ's hand and shoved the detonation pack into it. "You have to run." "No, run!" CJ turned and sprinted through the collapsing tunnel. Behind him, the Predator grappled the Queen. Spikes into her throat, blades to her chest. She screamed and thrashed, tail impaling him through the side. He roared and triggered his gauntlet. Lex lay on her back, staring up, eyes closing. Then, a white flash. CJ exploded out of a sewer grate and rolled into the street. Smoke, sirens, helicopters overhead, military retreating, civilians screaming. The hive had imploded. His arms were shaking. In his hand was the Predator's gauntlet. Burned, sparking. On it was a single mark etched in acid, a hunter's glyph, marked, worthy. CJ stood slowly, wiped the blood from his face, and looked up at the sky. In the distance, fire streaked down. More ships entering atmosphere. And behind him, beneath Los Santos, something deep still stirred. And that is going to be it for What If Alien vs. Predator Requiem took place in GTA San Andreas. Now, what did you think of this What If video? And if you guys do enjoy, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn those notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. I want to give a massive community shout out to Mad Prime Productions for requesting this What If in the live streams. Again, you're not going to want to miss one of these live streams, so turn those notifications on because you never know when we're going to be doing a video request of yours. And again, do make sure to check out the Miss the Part Gaming Week merch. It's only available for 1 week only. AVP Grove Street Edition. Aliens, Predators, CJ, and there's only one Grove Street. But that being said, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, before I leave it to you, I want to give a massive shout out to all of the YouTube community members, as well as the Patreon supporters. Without you guys, we're virtually, a non-existent brand. It's just, I don't like saying that, but I do want to be honest with you guys that a lot of your support really does go a long way with making even more videos like this and even more big giant events like Gaming Week. Without your guys' support, it probably wouldn't be this crazy, and a lot of these videos wouldn't all be happening within a week. And again, I want to give a massive shout out to all of you guys, all of the watchers watching out there. Thank you guys so very much. But that being said, my fellow watchers, I will see you in the next video on Gaming Week. Take care and have a wonderful day. Peace out.